Hey everybody, welcome back to another Writing Brave Mastermind Testimonial. I have Casey with me today. Casey, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very, very happy to be here and to share about my experience.
Yay. So can you start off, maybe tell us what kind of book you're working on?
Yes, so I am writing a fiction book. It is fantasy sci-fi adjacent in that it is a dystopian fiction novel set partially in the future, um, or I guess in an alternate universe,
Mhm.
where parts of it feel very, very normal and everyday, but then there are parts of it that are fake or just not scientifically proven currently.
Ooh, yes, so good. All right. So tell us about when you first heard about the Writing Brave Mastermind, what made you be like, ooh, this is interesting? And then kind of how did you decide it was for you? Like what kind of drew you to it initially?
Yes. So I had actually worked with a few different people who had gone through the program in previous years. And I'd worked with them just from a business standpoint, but I'd known that they'd gone through the program when they were writing books and working on programming. And when I had gotten my idea to write the story that I wanted to write, I subscribed to Brooke's newsletter. And I was just like, I just want to hang out here and kind of see how I feel. I know a lot of people who speak very, very highly of Brooke. And we'd been in kind of adjacent circles, but had not worked together at that point. And by the time you started promoting the mastermind, I had just started writing pieces of my story. And I knew in theory where I wanted it to go, but had no idea how to actually get it there. It was like I didn't really have an outline at one point when you asked if I had an outline, and I had like 3 paragraphs of like it's this and this and this, and it was nothing formal. It was
Mm.
just like I don't know, like the idea came to me and I just had to like get it all on paper. And so it was the decision to have something formalized to help me commit to actually writing it,
Mm.
doing that, because I know that when I join a program like this and I commit to it, and there are weekly sessions and guidelines for what you're learning and improving on, I follow it really well. It's a platform and a format that works for me. And I was like, this is important to me. I want to know what it looks like to join this program and commit to this for myself.
Yes, I love it so much. So I love too that you spoke to you knew that this is kind of a format that works for you. And I was just talking to someone else about knowing yourself and sort of knowing what format you learn best in. So I love that you were like, yes, weekly sessions, like program guidelines, like all of this, like kind of ticks all the boxes. That's so good. Could you talk a little bit about looking back, what would you say are some of the most valuable parts of the mastermind kind of for you and for your book?
Yes, I would definitely say the community aspect was a big part of it. Having the reminder that you are not the only one struggling with things,
Mm.
that it's normal to um, question or to any kind of uncertainty. It's all normal. It's part of the process, and it's okay to recognize it and move forward. And having a community of people who are going through that same thing really helps. But I mean, our cohort was also just meshed really well and was very supportive in general. So beyond that recognition piece,
Mm.
uh, I going through a program like that rather than something that is fully asynchronous, is something that I really value, because I know that leaving those programs, you have that community still to
Mm.
potentially lean on and connections you've made. So that is worth more than I can put a price tag on.
Mm.
Um, and then having the variety of sessions for all different stages of the writing process. And at first I was uncertain how I felt about some of that. I was like, I am nowhere near ready to touch revising or, different areas. And it was like, no, it's actually really good to at least consider now and have that be part of my expectations for the process then. Especially as a constantly recovering perfectionist, knowing that like it's not always a first draft. It's really never a first draft that gets published. And knowing that all of the process and the pieces that go into that, like seeing the whole timeline of expectations makes a difference for what I expect the outcome to be, as opposed to being 6 months, I'm writing, and at the end of it, I'm publishing, and it's going to take 2 months to publish. And I mean, depending on what I was doing, maybe, but like, I'm pretty sure if I'd showed up day one, everyone in the cohort, including you, would have been kind of like, can we talk about this? Like,
I love it. Yeah. So I love that you're saying like having these touch points of, you know, sections, like parts of the process that come later is helpful. Yeah. And I always wrestle with that of like, do I put them in? Do I not put them in? But I feel like people are always like, oh, it helps me have these expectations that are more realistic, even if you're kind of not at that point yet. So I love hearing that. How would you say that you've changed as a writer, kind of looking back to December, so maybe 7, 8 months ago, like how have you changed since then?
I'd say just my perception of how I write, how I like to write, and how like I actually am able to write and balance that in my life, that has changed. And accepting that it varies is a really big difference. Just the seasons with which you have to accept how it fits into your life, unless you are someone who is lucky enough to have it be their full-time opportunity. But then also I think back to the first submission that I did to my editor to read a portion of it. And I told her, I was like, I can be really sensitive to feedback. I know that I want feedback, but I can never predict how I'm going to react to how I receive it, even if it's done nicely and supportively. And the way that she worked with me through that has been really powerful. So now when I share something with someone I trust, like it's not that same amount of fear in receiving feedback. Like there's a little portion that's like always kind of scared to know what that feedback is going to be and what someone's reaction is.
Yeah.
But not nearly the level of anxiety that surrounded it. And that's one of my favorite things now, is being able to share a chapter with a friend that I have reading and exchanging with, and just being excited to see what her comments are, instead of being like, oh my gosh, like it's always going to be terrible. Like even when it's rough, like someone who cares about you or cares about the work and is trauma informed, or whatever phrasing you want to use, someone who you trust does it safely for you and meets you where you need that.
Yeah, I love that so much. Feedback can be so hard, but I'm glad that working with Heather was sort of supportive in that. And I love that you like said that to her up front, like, this is really hard for me. So yeah, because that's really important to me that everyone on my team kind of has that ability to kind of meet the writer where they are with compassion, and sort of like adjust the way they're giving the feedback and the kind of feedback they're giving based on sort of the stage you're in and like what's most supportive to you. So I love it. As we wrap up, like if there's someone watching this video who's thinking about joining and they're not sure if it's right for them, or if they're not sure if they should say yes, like what would you say to someone who's kind of in that decision place?
Yeah. So one of the things that I guess I didn't notice until I'd been in the program longer was like the percentage of people who were writing fiction versus nonfiction.
Mm.
And, it's a lot of nonfiction memoir writers work with Writing Brave. But there's so much love and space for fiction work in your company and your space. So even if it feels like that's not something you see as often from people sharing testimonials, there it's a wonderful fit for this style of writing. And personally, my book would not have come to fruition like it has to this point without this program and without the deadline and the support from it. So if you're someone who needs just a little bit more to convince yourself, even if you have the utmost faith in your story and it's just getting it on the page, that's a struggle, consider it. And if you are really still uncertain, take 15 minutes and hop on a call with Brooke, because she will be honest with you and then you can see what it is like to interact with her.
And I won't try to sell you anything. I will just help you make the decision for yourself. I'll just say that. It's like I've had much training on how to sell people on things and I'm just really over it, for better or for worse. So yes, if you're watching this and you're not sure, I would love to talk. So thanks. Thank you, Casey, for plugging that. And thank you so much for sharing all of this with you and with us. And I'll just say too, it's really funny because I'm a fiction writer myself. And it's really funny to me that so many of my clients are nonfiction writers. I love working with nonfiction, but I have just a really special place in my heart for novels. And that is my own preferred writing form right now. So yeah, it's a good, I try to make it a good space for both genres. And so I'm glad that you felt that way too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.